Okay, so now I'm delighted to introduce Garima Srivastava. She's the Chief Development Architect at SAP Labs. Welcome, Garima.
Thanks, John. Excited to be
So
here.
I'm really interested because SAP is such a can we call it a household name in the IT sphere, and everybody knows that it is a very complex application, or has lots of different modules to it.
Yeah.
So although companies may implement one or two, many implement a lot of the stack, and so changing any part of the stack can have big impacts on
Absolutely.
on lots of users and lots of user organizations.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in learning how you achieve that and make the SAP suite of applications more adaptable to today's needs.
Okay. Thanks, John. Thanks for the introduction. Hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Garima, and today I'm here to present this topic: how to break boundaries of the old giant. The old giant being here are big old enterprise solutions. I think John gave a little bit of background already, and then the intent is also to see that how can we intelligently integrate them using APIs. So, having said that, that's a little bit about me. I work as a chief development architect at SAP Labs India. I'm based out of Bangalore, and I have extensive experience. I'm proud to say that to kind of develop enterprise software, integrate it. Now, in the recent times, integrating it across deployment options of cloud, microservices development, and so on and so forth. So, going ahead, I think the first thing when I was thinking about this talk was how to start with was the business need. And from that point of view, first of all, like earlier said, I come from an organization where we have this very rich history of creating enterprise solutions, enterprise software, and these enterprise software have been working or have been serving as a backbone for a lot of business processes day in day out. And these enterprise software not only cater to specific business needs, they can also be enhanced extensively from use case to use case. I mean, you take a manufacturing solution, a human resource solution, a tax calculation, finance solution, and again, like I said, I mean, there can be globalization happening. For example, you can for India, for instance, there are specific GST needs, and the generic software needs to be customized for Indian market. So things like these, I mean, these enterprise software have been there in the market quite some time now. And then comes the cloud part of the story, wherein now with the advent of cloud, both the organizations that are building these enterprise software as well as the ones that are consuming it, both of these organizations want to carve their path towards cloud. So, and I think this journey towards cloud, like I said, I mean, we are talking about big solution implementations here, complex solution implementation. So the journey towards cloud varies from business to business, customer to customer, depending upon the complexity. It varies a lot. And that's something that I wanted to depict it on the left side here, wherein these enterprise software, existing enterprise software, are in some cases still an on-premise installed offering. Some cases, hosted environment. Also, in some areas, what we are seeing is some customers are targeting to move completely towards public cloud. Some of them, wherein they are going towards a headquarter subsidiary model, wherein the headquarter where there are very complex, a business processes running, they still exist on either an OP or a hosted environment, and then the subsidiaries are running on public cloud. So that's pretty much on the left side. The right side, what I wanted to depict here are cloud native applications, the best new breed of solutions that are being worked upon, wherein there is a lot of business use cases being solved, and that's where the need now here is to seamlessly integrate both these two worlds. So from that point of view, there is a need to kind of, I will come to what are the requirements, but then that is the need that I have my this world, I have the right side, and that's where seamless integration, and what does seamless integration is something that I'm gonna talk about, and how it comes down to APIs. So yeah, so now that we have seen the need, for I call it on a high level hybrid integration deployment environment that we have. That there are some things running on OP, some things running on private, something running on public, and then we have our hyperscaler based offerings. So when we see this hybrid kind of environment and our enterprise requirements for these software, I could bucket the integration requirements in these five areas. So there can be more, but then this is something from our experience that I'm talking about. For example, I mean, I do not need to lay more emphasis on application to application. I spoke about it. The seamless integration within the applications, B2B integration. I mean, I need to onboard my business partners. I need to onboard all the, shippers, couriers, transporters. A B2B kind of a setup also needs to be there for these enterprise use cases to run effectively. The one thing which is very crucial is master data synchronization. Like said, I mean, there can always be a scenario wherein my headquarter is, running a big solution, and then my subsidiaries are have a smaller footprint of enterprise offerings. And that's when, for example, just to give you a use case, for example, when a fiscal year is ending, I want to, collate all my financial transactions that happened since last 1 year, 2 year, whatever it may be. It is utmost important that my master data needs to be synchronized in a way that I can do this kind of inter-system dependent integration very seamlessly. Master data goes hand in hand with the fourth block here, the data integration. I mean, master data is one thing, but I think for sure the configuration data, there's a lot of configurational data that we talk about whenever we talk about enterprise software. There's a lot of transactional data that is there. For example, I want to see that across my subsidiaries, how many purchase orders were, open for a specific career or a vendor, for example. So things like these are very common examples that I'm taking. But then this is where the data integration also comes into picture. And then, I mean, one level again, parallelly, the data virtualization is always a need. Whenever we talk about a distributed environment wherein there are a lot of sources from which the data is coming in, these days for insight to action capabilities or even for further processing, there's always a need for data virtualization. And that's where these, if you see these integration requirements, these can be bucketed. All the integration requirements that we have within the enterprise software more or less can be bucketed into these five buckets, and that's where the need of seamless integration or API based integration comes into picture. Going ahead, somehow the slide froze for me. Let me see if it works. So yeah, so now that we have seen the integration requirements, I think there's some lag at my end. Yeah. It is taking some time. So anyway, the now that we have seen some of the integration requirements, what can be considered here is that what is it that can be, how can APIs help us? I do not know. Maybe if the moderator could help me, I want to show the slide number 5 here, but somehow I'm stuck on integration requirement slide. So 5 should be how do APIs help? Somehow it's not moving. Yeah. So anyway, it says it doesn't move somehow. Let me try. I have the deck open at my end. It is jumping slides somehow. So what I wanted to share was, anyway, I can still talk about it now that we are here on slide number 6. Before this, what I wanted to still mentioned was that how can APIs help? I think there are two, three things that I wanted to explicitly talk about when it comes to API and specifically for hybrid integration. So I think from that point of view, I do not need to lay more emphasis on seamless integration, collaboration. APIs do help in faster innovation cycle. One thing which is very important, and that's something I wanted to lay explicit emphasis on, how can APIs help? That was on the slide 5 somehow. It was not it is not reflection here anyway. So I think, like I said earlier, and within enterprise software domain, every customer has his or her own pace of going to cloud. And that's why when people ask us that, what can be things? So even if we are not taking the journey to cloud in one go, like I said, it can be a path wherein people take it in a fragmented way. However, we for sure recommend that going ahead with API kind of integration is something that would help you to go ahead and accept the public cloud principles and that journey later. So that is also one thing. So one part of the story is from API, the organizations that are developing these enterprise software, for them to offer more and more API based integration. The other part of the story is that they can the consuming parties should also do it in a disciplined way, wherein they are consuming APIs or extending APIs in a way that it doesn't it should not go away from standard extension principles that we have. I'll talk about it in some time. So what we discussed, the need, then the integration buckets, then how can APIs help, and now coming one level down, then key pointers for hybrid integration that can be considered. So from that point of view, what is also important that the high level buckets that can be considered here for API based hybrid integration is also that maybe I somehow I'm struggling with my slides. So just it says here slide 5, but somehow it's stuck. I do not know why. Yeah. So what it also kind of considers is that the high level consideration. So for example, the product features, like I said, I mean, these enterprise based applications, they have very rich in product features, and that's where it is important that when we are defining the APIs, the product feature is something that should be very explicitly considered, discussed among all the stakeholders, so that what we are opening in API is clear from the first day. So that is one thing. The second part of the story is release and utilization. So I think everybody knows, I mean, for APIs, it is very crucial that the APIs are released in a fragmented way, in a release cycle that can be consumed also, efficiently. And then also the utilization part of the story. I think in the last session we also heard about it, that how are people utilizing these APIs. One golden rule that we always consider, that it should always be downward compatible, whatever changes that we are doing in these release cycles, so that it can always whenever somebody is using the APIs that the provisioning organization has provided, then it should not break something that was working. So that's what we call it in our terms. Downward compatibility should always be there. Then also the performance. I think for APIs, we always consider that performance is something that should be utmost important when we are talking about these kind of specially hybrid integration scenarios. And what also needs to be considered is that we can performance is not only for designing the APIs, but also for hybrid integration, end-to-end integration use case. So that's also one thing. And last but not the least, the security, logging, monitoring, all these concepts are utmost crucial for any software offering, but and it also is applicable for APIs. So considering that, then the key pointers that you see here, I think I spoke about the product features, when we are defining the API, especially for a hybrid integration, wherein something is running on one stack, the other thing is running on other stack, and there is a need of end-to-end integration use cases. That's where the precise definition of APIs makes sense. More and more exposure of APIs on cloud. Why I say that? Because, like I said, I mean, all these enterprise software have their history of coming from an OP world and transitioning towards cloud. So, from that point of view, whatever the use cases or the functionalities are running on cloud, it is also crucial that these APIs are exposed on cloud in a very seamless manner, so that they can also be consumed in and I think on cloud there are a lot of features, API management platforms that people can also take advantage of. The integration platform was one topic that is being discussed, debated in the enterprise software integration arena a lot. So when I say integration platform, I specifically mean here mediated integration. I'll talk about it in a little while. But then what also needs to be considered here, that if there are two worlds, like I said, I mean, I've been talking about hybrid landscape wherein there's one guy and the other guy, and both of them want to talk to each other, and they unfortunately do not know what is how can they talk to each other, they understand each other's language. That's where mediated integration or mediated platform comes into picture. There are still very many use cases where it makes sense to kind of have it. So that's where, again, when people are thinking about their hybrid integration strategy, they have to think about that. Efficient extension of APIs, that is also something that it is utmost required, because we are talking about enterprise software where the extensions of these APIs also happening. So that's where the extension mechanism and providing loops wherever they are, wherever they are, whenever the API is designed, is also considered. Identification of API, discovery of the API on the API hub kind of a portal is also very much in need, because that's where people they tend to identify what all APIs are provisioned by an organization and how to use it. I Let me try sharing my slide if it works. I am not sure, because somewhere I am struggling with the share. Just let me see if it works now. Okay, so I hope it is visible. So like I said, I mean, these are the key pointers for hybrid integration. Coming one level down, so what we saw until now, the need, the high level buckets for hybrid integration, how can APIs help, and then some key high level pointers what to consider. Now coming to the APIs and the kind of APIs that are relevant for hybrid integration. So for example, API types to consider. And that's where, I mean, this is not new. This is something that we know: open APIs, partner APIs, internal APIs, composite APIs. When it comes to enterprise based software offerings, what we have seen is that public APIs are useful, absolutely. Partner APIs also become very crucial, because like I said, I mean, there's a whole ecosystem when it comes to an enterprise software offering, and that's where partners come into picture. These are the guys who kind of extend the APIs that have been provided by an organization. So it can be an exposed to or exposed by a partner. Then credentials required, I mean, that is not something that is very explicit. Then internal APIs, we know that these are more from design point of view, using for increasing development efficiency. And now composite APIs are also coming into picture, wherein more and more microservices based architecture, or even in the our plain old enterprise development, composite APIs can help to better structure our API definitions. So now that we have seen the API types, some of the protocols, or I will not call it only protocol because I talk about REST here, but the protocol specification that can be considered. So I think two of the most common specifications that have been implemented, seeing very widely used, are SOAP and REST. SOAP, like I mean, it is a protocol, a simple object access protocol, has been there in the market since quite some time, has been very extensively used also for these kind of integration scenarios, and extensible, neutral. It is, although a little heavy on the development and the infrastructure kind of view, but then it is still very widely used. And then comes REST. REST is, like I said, I mean, it is a architecture, and this is something that is being very extensively adopted even in hybrid integration arena that we have, that where we have something running on on-premise, something running on cloud, something running on microservices based development environment. And that's where REST along with OData is also something that is a very preferred option when we talk about hybrid integration. I hope I'm not running out of time, maybe very quickly. So after protocols, I also wanted to quickly touch base upon, these are things that are very crucial when it comes to hybrid integration. For example, API management platform, API gateway. So like I said, when we discussed about the key pointers, for example, the discovery of the API, or there has to be a proper documentation provided for every API that we are provisioning. And now if you think, these enterprise APIs are the ones that can be also complex to understand from business point of view. How many production orders are open? So an API that can open, give me all production of orders open for a plant or a storage location and things like that. So from that point of view, extensive documentation, cataloging, version control, distribution, enabling also our partners, the partners that I spoke about. For example, if they are creating extensions on top of these APIs, even there the documentation also needs to be put into a platform wherein from end user consumer point of view, everything is in one place. So that's where an API management platform comes into picture. I think gateway also is not new. Gateway sits between the client and a collection of backend services. It is that piece that controls, that there is no abuse of an API that is being provisioned, rate limiting, statistics, user authorization, authentication, and so on and so forth. So in general, from enterprise integration point of view, there are many organizations who have their own API management platform. However, there are also some that use the ones that either hyperscalers provide or the other organizations. There are a couple of common API management platforms also available in the market. But then this is also something that needs to be considered as a design principle to kind of plan things when we are talking about a hybrid integration. So this is something that I briefly touched base upon. So when we talk about APIs, when we talk about integration, when we talk about two worlds talking to each other, one system which is a legacy system has been running in the same way with a lot of complex use cases since last 20 years now, and the other system which is a new breed of solution running somewhere on cloud platform. So it might happen that both these two guys do not understand their language. So just to give you an example, for example, a material, a product, So my one software calls it a product, has the representation of product in its own software world in one way. And then my other solution or another software, maybe in retail space, for example, calls product as an article, and then it represents an article in a different way. And now these two systems need to talk to each other using APIs. And that's where the problem comes in, that one guy is saying that this is my product, the other guy is saying this is my article. So that's where kind of a mediated platform needs comes into picture, which can, which can make do some transformation so that these two systems, software offerings, these two worlds can integrate seamlessly. So nowadays,
So, Garima, I'm sorry to interrupt, but actually, this particular point that you're making, I have a
yeah,
question about,
sure, sure.
because uh, ERP systems like SAP are
Yeah.
really the heart of a company's finance system,
Right.
and they often wanted to connect that to their bank
Mm-hmm.
because not only do they want to be able to reconcile the accounts, but
Sure.
even because accountants and other people who are using the ERP system uh, really want to initiate everything from within the ERP. They don't want to have
Yeah.
to go and log on to their bank account
Exactly.
and initiate a payment there and then have to match it later. They'd much rather launch it from within the
Mm-hmm.
ERP system. But for
Mm-hmm.
multinational companies that are
Mm-hmm.
operating across many countries, they often have relationships with several banks. Even
Absolutely.
even if they're not multinational, even if they're local, they often have to um, negotiate with their bank about how they're going
Mm-hmm.
to integrate that. So you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, and I see this situation where the bank has published APIs and
Yeah.
the ERP solution has their own set of APIs, and I think this is what
Exactly.
you're talking about, where um, each side wants to use their APIs rather than conform with the other ones. Is this where the mediated platform
Exactly.
comes in?
Or even a simple the use case that you mentioned, John, to simplify it a little bit, that the ERP system needs to understand what bank is sending and then save the data in its own whatever format, and maybe then the
Mm.
subsequent APIs on the ERP side try to distribute that data into a distributed ERP landscape. So from that
So,
point
so
of
that's
view,
so that's even more than just
exactly,
mapping one field
exactly,
in one system
exactly.
to a field in another. It is also the security aspect of connecting to
Absolutely.
that bank and the authorization. So there's an onboarding process that has to happen even
Absolutely.
before that.
Yeah.
So
And that,
this is
yeah,
sort of
yeah,
getting complex.
absolutely. And that's where, I mean, like I said, this is a very complex business scenario that we are talking about. And I mean, it's easier said. I have maybe on the other slide, this is what I hope it doesn't get stuck. Yeah. So more and more, like you said, I mean, we intend to not do this middleware kind of transformation. That is the intent. But then
Mm,
in complex use cases, in many a times it cannot be something that can be aligned between two parties, because these APIs are also there. We cannot go and change everything in one go. So that's where I also wanted to
mm,
put in this point of business context alignment. I think this is also one topic that is being discussed in the community a lot. That whenever we talk about API based design,
mm,
whenever we talk about API based integration, it would be easier for both these two worlds to talk to each other if they align on the same business context. Saying that the business guy at the bank in
mm,
your use case would be sending this payload and the ERP system would be able to understand this payload. If that alignment happens, then
mm,
we are in a best case scenario. And that's where at least the intent of the new software or the APIs that are being developed more and more is the
mhm,
intent that that's what we want to do. That
mm,
the business
yeah,
context alignment should be there, so that this mediated integration should be minimized, because obviously it adds more
mm,
complexity, cost, and so on and so forth.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Garima, there's a lot to unpack there, and I understand it's complex, but I think you've given us a good understanding of the steps that need to be taken
Yeah.
to approach the complexity of integrating with partners. Some of them are business to business partners, some of them are banks and other service providers,
Can be
and
GL.
so so that's and some may be part of an integrated supply chain. So
Exactly.
this is so this is a very important point. Um, do you have any parting words?
No, I think
No.
this
Okay.
was my last slide. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just wanted to summarize things. So this is what I wanted
Mm,
to present, because,
mm,
like you said, John, there are a lot of things that we can talk about when it comes to hybrid integration. I
mhm,
wanted to at least provide some key pointers to think about,
mm,
buckets to put in integration requirements, and then how can
mhm,
API design and definition can be done. So
mm,
that was the intent. I
mm,
hope it was
yeah.
useful. Yeah.
So thanks very much for sharing, Garima.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.